Thank you so much for coming this evening, and we shall move on ahead. So, about our topic for this evening, we live in a world of social media. It's just the truth about today, and with COVID-19, we are much more into social media than we have been in the past. Now, there might be a few people who haven't gotten there yet, but the stats say that almost 80% of the people in the United States participate in some degree in social media. That's over 90% of the people who have access to the internet. And that's a pretty impressive number. So what can we do about these people? Those people are already online, and we have Toastmasters meetings online. I wonder if we could bring those two things together. And if so, how could we do that? And you know, another interesting factoid is that 51% of the world's people worldwide have access to social media, either through a computer or a phone or some other connected device. So anyway, in the United States, this means that 9 out of 10 people could be candidates to join your club if you knew how to reach them through social media. The people who are online today also could join your club even if they're not next door, even if they're not in your community. There's a lot more possibilities out there. And of course, we talked a little bit about this and the wonders of hybrid meetings at our last meeting. And you're welcome to go. We have a recording of that, and we'll put a link out there for you if you'd be interested in seeing and learning more about that. And we've gone ahead to our scheduled panel event for this evening. And what would a panel be without a panel moderator? And we have a panel moderator tonight who has, I don't know, how many nerdems did we count, James? There's quite a good number of them, and they're growing exponentially, I think. The Mendel's theory have something to do with that? Yeah, Mendelbrot, there we are, Mendelbrot, yes, there we are. So I would like to go ahead and introduce James, who's going to turn around and introduce our panelists this evening, as well as our theme and our topic. James.
Great, thank you so much, Michael. Tonight, we are going to venture into the wild unknowns of the online world. There are so many ways that people connect nowadays, not just in the old-fashioned letters and books and face-to-face. We can connect to each other digitally like the cyborgs we truly are. And so we will now be able to help you know how to connect best with your tribe of people and where to find your true online home. That will take part in understanding who you are as a club and as an individual, what demographics work best for you, and so who would best connect with your club. And then we will go through several different of the social media or social platforms, social networking sites, however you want to describe them, and talk about their pros, their cons, what makes them unique, so that you can make an informed choice. And afterwards, we'll have a Q&A session where you can ask questions and learn more. First up, though, the first and most important, really, I think, because he establishes the foundation for all the rest of the panelists, is Kyle Hall. Our first panelist this evening has learned a lot about club marketing as our district's club growth director a few years ago. Tonight, he's going to share this one of the most fundamental of marketing skills, a skill that continues to be a challenge for many clubs. Trust me, many clubs. Before we choose our social media tool, we must first consider with whom are we trying to communicate? Who is our target market? Not that kind of target, other kind of target. Please help me welcome Kyle Hall.
Thank you, James. I've been involved in a host of different membership building events, most of them various versions of open houses. And I remember one that we put together for one club I was a part of, and we put out news releases and we put flyers up all over town, and we put we put them in the post office and the library, and we talked to our friends and we sent emails out. And it was a tremendous effort to try to get people in, and we had one person show up for the free food. Then there's another club I was a part of, and we were putting together a session just for ourselves. This was an educational session on how to do TED Talks, so we're just doing it for ourselves. We didn't put any flyers up, and kind of at the last minute we said, well, we've done all this work. why don't we just stick a press release in next week's local paper? 20 guests. 20 guests walked in the door. It was one of those, there was just the right correlation between topic and the local demographic. And 20 guests walked in. It was amazing. The point I'm trying to make is, as clubs, we are trying to grow ourselves. We're trying to get the word out there that we exist and that we have a service to offer, that we can help people solve their communication and leadership problems, that we can help them get over their fear. We're trying to let people know we're here. But we can't communicate with everybody. Unless you're Coca-Cola or Pepsi or McDonald's and you have $1 billion marketing budget, we can't communicate with everybody. So we have to learn to communicate with a smaller group of people. We have to choose who we're going to communicate with. Because if we try to communicate with everybody, we actually communicate with no one. But if we choose to communicate with a small group of people, we can have a targeted event, targeted communication, and it can be much more effective. Now, I hope you have pulled up my handout. You don't need to read it now. Virtually everything I'm going to say is in the handout. And I wrote it so that you could take it back to your club and have a serious discussion about targeting your marketing. The first thing we need to ask ourselves is, who do we want to invite to be in our club? Who do we want in our club? Now, this is one of the areas where a lot of clubs have problems, because you say, who do you want in your club? And the immediate answer is, well, everybody. Well, yeah, we're all Toastmasters. We've drunk the Kool-Aid. We think that Toastmasters is marvelous and everybody should be a member. Sure. But again, we can't communicate with everybody. So who do we want to invite to our club? And a lot of clubs resist letting go of the everybody answer. And sometimes you have to push. I'm coaching a club right now, and I asked that question. I said, who do we want to invite? And I got the everybody answer. And I said, yeah, okay, but let's assume we can't invite everybody. Let's just assume we can't. Who do you like to hang out with? Who would you like to have more of in your club? And I waited. And I had to be quiet, because sometimes you ask that question and the quiet really works. And after about a minute and a half, somebody went, well, most of us in this club are writers and storytellers. And I think we'd really like to have more writers and storytellers. And other people going, yeah, we like writers and storytellers. It's like, okay, that's a demographic. That's something we can work with. So we've identified a group of people that we might like to invite to our club, writers and storytellers. Okay. If you were going to communicate something to writers and storytellers, how would you do it? Well, that question, I didn't have to wait long, because as soon as I asked it, they're like, well, there's a writing shop in downtown, in the city there, and there's a writing shop. We can go down there and put up flyers. I said, yeah, or you could even talk to the owner, because the owner probably has a list of writers in the area that he communicates specials to. He might be willing to, send out an email for you. And they were like, yeah, and there's a storytelling guild in the area, so we could communicate with them. And the ideas started flowing immediately. As soon as they identified a little group, a niche that they wanted to talk to, in this case, writers and storytellers, they had ideas about how to communicate with them. And then the next question was, well, okay, but are you just going to invite them to a meeting, or are you going to prepare something just for them? Are you going to prepare a session just for writers and storytellers? And after a little bit of discussion, the group kind of said, well, what we think writers would really value would be a session on how to go from writer to speaker. Basically, how a writer can use storytelling to market, to market themselves or to present their material. So this group is now working on putting together that event and marketing to those people. That's an example of targeting your marketing. Now, I'm not suggesting we all go off and target storytellers and writers. That's not the point. Your club may be made up of real estate people. Your club may be made up of small business people. Your club may be made up of retired people and medical professionals. But have a conversation about who we are and who we want in our club, And if we can identify that, if we're willing to put aside, at least for now, the idea of everyone, and embrace the idea that a smaller group of people makes it easier for us to communicate and makes our events more attractive, it can be very powerful. And that will lead us then into which social media, once we identify the demographic we're going after, we can now think about what social media tool is the best tool for us to use. And with that, I will pass control back over to our panel moderator, James.
Thank you so much, Kyle. That was awesome. Lots of intriguing information and some good inspiration for us to take back to our clubs. Next up, we will be talking about in many ways, the social media platform, Facebook. Everybody, you think of social media, you think of Facebook. And to talk about Facebook, we have our very own Roberta Craig, our District 32 Club Growth Director. Roberta has 30 years of experience in business intelligence data analysis, and if that's not nerdy, I don't know what is. Take it away, Roberta.
Okay, let's see how well I show my nerddom here. I have a PowerPoint presentation to show you, just to get us all focused on what it is that I have to share today. Facebook is probably one of the most popular platforms that are out there. Kyle had mentioned demographics. I'm going to start off by showing some demographics of what Toastmasters International demographics are and Facebook users. And you'll notice some pretty close similarities. Female to male population, dead on. We share the same percentage of population. Toastmasters International, when you take a look at the average age or age groups of our Toastmasters International members, existing members, and then you take a look at percent of online users that are on Facebook. So it's a little different. It's not all online users, it's just online users on Facebook. Where Toastmasters International sweet spot is in the mid-40s, Facebook's sweet spot is in the 30s or so. Facebook was originally designed to be a social media platform, a dating platform for college students. Some little bit of trivia there. And then when we take a look at some more demographics, the education level of our Toastmasters International members, they have some type of educational degree, and 10.4% of them are currently students. There are those college students that are students for life. Facebook users, a whopping majority of them are college students because this platform was originally designed as a dating platform for college students. The income of Facebook users actually did surprise me, $75,000 or more a year. And that 75% of the Facebook users fall in that category. People visiting social media sites, of all the social media sites that are out there, 45% of those are hitting Facebook on a monthly basis. Of those folks, 74% of us, yes, probably spend way too much time on Facebook, visiting it daily, and we spend 38 minutes a day checking out Facebook. And I think I read somewhere that it was 28 of those minutes are spent watching videos on Facebook.
Cat videos.
Yeah, cat videos on Facebook. Facebook connections, the average Facebook user has 155 friends. I'm not quite up there. Currently, our D32 Facebook group has 522 members associated with our Facebook page, and that's out of 1,220 actual members in our district. Facebook users, 87% of them connect with their coworkers through Facebook. And there's 1.4 billion of us that are utilizing some form of Facebook group. Yes, it is a connecting socially. As you can see, 8 billion videos are viewed daily. Wow, that's a lot of videos. And yeah, probably about 90% of them are cat videos. People usually watch the videos with the sound off. I thought it was rather interesting that 80% of the people who are watching videos are annoyed if the videos automatically start playing sound. They prefer to watch the videos with the sound off. I don't know why. However, when it comes to advertising, closed caption videos actually increase the view time by 12%. So if you're trying to create a video for your Facebook page, you want to close caption it so that people can have the volume off and still hear your message. Now, this is one of those things that people think, okay, I've built a Facebook page for my club. Why isn't anybody visiting it? Why don't I get more people to sign up and join the group? Because unlike the movie, if you post it, they won't necessarily come. It is not a field of dreams. So you need to be proactive with your advertising. There are ways to spread that message. One is to buy boosting so that you're boosting your message, and really play with the demographics. Facebook defaults to 18 to 65, you know, the entire population. We don't need to target the entire population. So play with the actual demographics. There's a video that I have a link to that will be mentioned in this presentation, in which you can check out some more ways of setting your demographics for your Facebook page. There's one interesting option that I had not known before, and that is you can import your list of your club members, and Facebook with their psychographics, their measurements, can actually look at people who match that same demographic and push your message out to them. So those are some neat things to play with. Some other demographics to consider when you are targeting your message. Private for-profit businesses are where we're getting the majority of our members. And interesting enough, us Nerdmasters are the ones that are jumping on board more than any other group. Computer and information technology group employees are signing up for Toastmasters. I'll be sending out this link a little later on. It is a great video put on by Region 1 on how to set up your Facebook posting and how to do that psychographics and demographics measurements. Other questions or information to keep in mind. 96% of the users are utilizing a mobile device, not a computer, to access Facebook. So when you're designing your ads, you want to make sure that they fit in this small screen medium. And 19.7% of all digital marketing is happening through Facebook. That's a good thing and a bad thing. That tells us that you can't rely just on Facebook to get your message out there. You need to be present in other forms of social media. Facebook has integration with Instagram, Eventbrite, which is turning out to be even more interesting as we go along. So you can create an event, have people register for that event on Eventbrite. Some negatives, especially this time of year. 36% of the top stories are political. That is turning people away from Facebook. There's a lot of people that turn off Facebook during an election year. And 120 million Facebook accounts are fake. So when you are creating your groups to have people sign up for them, you might want to have some type of qualifier, a question that they have to answer in order to join your group. Those are just some things to keep in mind as you are setting up your Facebook demographics or your Facebook social media ads. Any questions? I know we'll have a discussion. Feel free to post those questions in the chat, and I look forward to helping you out a little later on.
Indeed. And yes, thank you for bringing that up, Roberta, and thank you so much for that data-packed, very nerdy. I love graphs. I love you. That was amazing.
More charts, more charts.
More charts. That was amazing. So much stuff.
Create a couple of pictures.
If you can, are you going to be able to share those slides with us? Awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I will make sure that gets sent out to everybody. And yes, if you have any questions that you're thinking of during these talks, send them to me or to the individuals, or just post them in the chat, and we will bring them up at the end of this section. Next up, we have Twitter. Now, Twitter is, everybody knows about Twitter, but we had a horrible time trying to find somebody to actually present on Twitter with Facebook. People have actually used Twitter with Toastmasters in order to work. And I found some people, because they do exist, but they couldn't make tonight. So I instead found a video. So there's a video that I'm going to share with you real quick of a Toastmaster giving a presentation on Twitter and Facebook. So please enjoy.
And this is a Toastmaster first, a video panelist.
Indeed.
Now moving on to Twitter, which got me a lot of blank looks when I brought that up. Twitter is different. It's a little more to get used to. It has its drawbacks and its benefits compared to Facebook, but I like it personally. Basically, the idea behind Twitter, club-wise and PR-wise, is to redirect people's attention from Twitter into other areas. You can direct them from Twitter to YouTube, Twitter to our website, Twitter to Facebook, Twitter to contacting an officer. And that's what we're doing. Twitter is like casting a big net and then pulling up the fish. That's how we get people's interest through Twitter. You'll notice right now we have 9 followers. I actually think it's gone up to 10 since I printed this out. If you kind of look through the posts that are on the page already, specifically I've underlined Toastmasters has what's called a hashtag or a number sign in front of it. Does everybody understand what hashtags are? Or, okay.
Not at all.
Okay. Hashtags are like keywords that you use for an event or an idea or an organization. You can say hashtag Toastmasters, and that's letting people all over Twitter, whether they follow you or not, see your post in relation to Toastmasters. I've gotten replies on Toastmasters hashtags from Toastmaster clubs in New Zealand, all over the United States, all over the world, because they all follow that Toastmasters hashtag. And that's what allows them to communicate with each other and then also with the general public. So if somebody searches Toastmasters and our tweets have that tag in it, our tweets will come up, whether they follow us or not. And then they can see what we posted. So if you're going to talk about Toastmasters on Twitter, it's good to hashtag it. You also notice I've put some YouTube videos in there. Again, that's drawing people to other content. We do have a YouTube page, which I will get to momentarily. If you'll flip over to the next Twitter part, again, scroll through the posts that I've already made. One of them near the top it says you retweeted, and then it's from an account called Power Speakers. It's another Toastmasters club, sharing their tweets to our followers gets more information out to different people, and it connects us with that club. So the people who follow them can see that we have retweeted this, and they'll maybe go, huh, that club sounds cool too. I think I'll follow them also. So that's another way, not just posting our own content, but sharing that of others. If you've ever heard the term viral marketing or viral video or anything viral in relation to the internet these days, that is basically how that works, is one person posts some kind of content, an article, whatever, a video. They share it with their followers. It gets out to 50 people. Each of those 50 people shares it with their 50 followers. And all of a sudden that one post has been viewed by 2,500 people. And it just keeps multiplying until you can get 100,000 views on one piece of content. And that brings in a lot of attention. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point, but that's the general idea. You also see at the bottom another club account that's been underlined. That's Toastmasters International's official Twitter account. They have one. So I keep apprised of their content. It's a good way to keep track of what's going on with TI and Toastmasters in general. And that's another good thing to share with our followers is this is not just one club. It goes far beyond just St. Clair Toastmasters.
All right, so that is a brief introduction to Twitter, and we'll have more room for comments and questions about hashtags and things like that later on. And I'll talk a little bit more about her analogy of a net. I'll bring that up at the end of all the panelists. But we want to go on to the next panelist, who is Michael Dugan, who is a guest tonight, a fantastic person I'm super excited to have here tonight, a close friend of Linda. So I can give some props to her for dragging him over here. But Michael Dugan is a distinguished Toastmaster and Toastmaster of the Year recipient. He is the current Vice President of Public Relations, appropriate, and a member of Conservatively Speaking in District 2. Today, he wants you to think differently about your marketing strategy and embrace the idea of creating a LinkedIn presence for your club. Please welcome Michael Dugan.
I'm going to share now. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. So what's the difference between different social media? When you think about Facebook, for me, I really enjoy Facebook. Facebook is for connecting to friends, connecting to family, connecting to friends from college, sometimes coworkers, but very, very rarely coworkers. What I can tell you though is LinkedIn is a professional network, and LinkedIn is a little bit more serious. In Facebook, in my Facebook feed, I see politics, 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 but then I see fly fishing and I see career topics, and I see all kinds of interesting things about dogs and animals. But then I move over to the LinkedIn side and I see a professional approach. I see articles about public speaking and how the world has changed and how professional speakers are moving to an online platform. I see people in the career search coming to Toastmasters because they see it as a way to improve their public speaking, to get ready for interviewing, to become more successful in their career. So there's some differences there between social medias, and Facebook, of course, is one of the top. So comparing the two helps you understand how to market and how to approach the strategy of building your club through LinkedIn. When you look here, you can see that in the professional sector, 94% of people market through LinkedIn. And then you have Twitter, then you have Facebook, then you have YouTube. So it's a very effective way of marketing, but you have to have the right approach. Today, I want you to think about how do you optimize your approach for your club? The first thing is to build a company page. Now, LinkedIn has a personal page, which is for the job search that you create, but it also has another side, and that's the company page. This is for nonprofits, this is for companies, this is for business. It's free to build, but it takes a little bit of effort. Once you do that, you want to think about posting and your content. From the company page, you can leverage analytics, and then you can participate in relevant groups. Also, in LinkedIn, you expand your network. We're going to talk about a few of these core things for leveraging LinkedIn. When you build a page, your company page, for Toastmasters, for your club, area, division, district, you want to think about what Kyle said. And I call back to that because who is your target audience? What is your personal brand? And your mission? These are core questions that you need to ask if you're going to market in LinkedIn. Also, the keywords. Now, what's interesting is if you notice in Eventbrite, there were hashtags in Eventbrite with specific words. Those could be keywords that could go into building your club page. Also, the photo. Now, the photo is really important because that sends the message. That's your brand on LinkedIn. That's what people are going to look at, and it's very critical that it's done well. In some clubs, I challenge people to say, think about that you're going to interview for a job, and challenge people, your members, to come prepared, dressed professionally, and then take a photo of them on Zoom or in person and post that. That could become your main page, the main picture for your page. Now, when you're posting, you want to think about what's trending. What are people going to see that they're going to take action on to come to your club, to get involved in Toastmasters? Some statistics about Toastmasters and how people can improve their career is another one. The industry news, what's changing, what's evolving, and thinking back to COVID and the changes that we've all gone through. And it's really interesting that small business, I've learned because I'm involved in small business, and a lot of people are afraid to come online and do business. So that might be a niche for some clubs, is how to help those people overcome that and be successful in business and leverage that. Also, your speakathons, your speech crafts, your guest speakers, you want to think about how are you going to engage with your audience and market that. Here we go. We've got statistics. In the company page, there are analytics that you can analyze, and you can choose what metrics you want to analyze. And I just picked a couple of them. The pages that people view, the unique visitors. Now, what's interesting about the unique visitors is that I remember I was a chef, and I remember creating a website called The Coastal Chef years ago. And when I started out and I was trying to market and connect to people, I got really excited because many of you might remember that on your web page, you would post a counter on the bottom right or bottom left, kind of hidden, but it would tell you, this many visitors, this many visitors, this many visitors. Very simple, but I got really excited because I watched the numbers go up. But then I realized that the 10 people that were testing my site were all the visitors for the website. So now we know with unique visitors, it only counts the one. If they visit 10 times, it only counts one time. So it's very easy to figure out how many people are really visiting your site. It also encapsulates demographics and the views of videos that you might post. So you can get a really good idea of what's working and what's not. So you can put your energy into what's working. Then think about, once you've built that site, that company site for LinkedIn, join groups that matter, where you can add value, and engage with members in your target market. Once you've identified your target market, it's pretty easy to focus on that and give yourself a deep and narrow approach. But pick the top 3 to 5 groups, because you can't spend all your time working on LinkedIn. You want to focus and have a very targeted approach. Now, you've done all these things and you've been successful, but you've got to expand your network. You got to continually build your network. It's pretty easy once you understand that there are really 3 types of people on LinkedIn. There are people that I call curmudgeons, and their curmudgeons are people that they really don't care. They just joined LinkedIn, they got 50 connections, and really they're just trying to get a job. So they may not be so interested. The second person is kind of middle of the road, and they might be helpful. They might help you market, but they might really get you to the lions. And these are online LinkedIn networkers. They are the key because they're very connected. If you connect with 2 or 3 of those, you can continually get your marketing moving in the right direction. So you want to connect with purpose. You want to create those long-lasting relationships. And another way to do that is to do a favor for someone. You connect with them, you're talking to them, and maybe they're helping you, but you're also helping them. Repost some of their events for their clubs, or help them with, some articles that might help them along their way. So I want to challenge you to think about LinkedIn and think about creating an online presence in LinkedIn. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Alrighty, I'm gonna check real quick. Is Juanetta Ayers in the house? No, she's not. So she was our Instagram expert, as some of you may know from her past events in District 32. And she had another meeting conflict, so she might be able to join in later for the Q&A, but she sent me a recording of her presentation. So we're being really nerdy tonight with some videos, but this one is from one of our peoples here talking about Instagram. So let me share my screen again here.
What was her name again?
Juanetta Ayers. I'll let her introduce herself here.
Good evening, D32 Nerdmasters. My name is Juanetta Ayers. I'm a member of Kashim Toastmasters in Anchorage, Alaska, and Advancing Alaska Toastmasters. I've also served as the District 32 Public Relations Manager. So I was asked to talk to you tonight a little bit about Instagram. What's so great about Instagram? Well, 1 billion people are using Instagram because it's highly visual. It was created to share photos, images, and video. And it's proven itself to be very effective in doing that, whether you're promoting a product, a service, an experience, or just looking to share your vacation photos. It's also very social. Obviously, it's a social media platform. You can comment, share, like, and integrate all of your posts on Instagram across other social media platforms. So it's very effective in spreading the word. And it's also happy. It's not as subject to some of the angst that you see on other social media platforms. It's there, but way, way less, not nearly the level and volume that you might see on some of the larger platforms. So that's a little bit about Instagram. But is Instagram right for your club? It largely depends on your club. Where are you at? Where are you at in terms of your membership strength? And where do you want to go? So you have to do a little bit of introspection. And I would submit to you that part of that is looking at the age demographics of your club. Are you more heavily weighted towards the older generations? And are you looking to spread that out with some of the younger generations? Now, this is where Instagram has both the charm and the curse. Millennials use Instagram very heavily. About 71% of all millennials report using Instagram. But baby boomers like me, I mean, I'm on the tail end of the baby boom. I like to think of myself as the last burp from the Pepsi generation. I have an Instagram account, but I don't use it the way that I use some of my other social media. So when you're using Instagram to promote your club, you have to think about how can I get my existing members, if they're in the older generations, to use the platform effectively to bring in some of the prospective members in the younger generations. But how do you actually use Instagram? Well, there's some unique features to it and some aspects that have worked well for other marketers. And one of those is the account takeover. So when I was District 32 Public Relations Manager, I offered clubs the opportunity to be the club of the week. So you build your hashtags around the idea of this takeover. You introduce it both on Instagram and other social media platforms. And you invite folks to come along and share the experience of being a Toastmaster from the perspective of one or more members. What does that look like in actuality? Well, you want to introduce yourself, you want to set the stage, you want to introduce the cast of characters, and you want to provide details about what that experience is like. And you want to have a little fun. I mean, I included a picture of my dog. And that's really kind of the nature of Instagram as well. Have some fun with it. Another opportunity is to promote a unique feature of your club. I mean, you can do this on any social media platform, but by the nature of it, the visual strength of Instagram, you can promote, you know, whether it's leadership or storytelling or humor. How do you capture that in a picture or some video footage that you can share from your club? Another opportunity is to share special events. So are you having an open house? Is there a special theme meeting? Are you doing a speech craft? Are there things that you can feature on your Instagram account that visually tell the story about what that experience is like? And again, think of it in that same sort of sense. How can I introduce myself, the setting, the cast of characters, the details around these experiences? So what's so great about Instagram? Well, I've said that it's visual, it's social, and it's happy. It's also easy and engaging. People love to see pictures, and it's also where the market is. I would submit that the new members that you want to bring in are going to be in those younger generations, and you want to diversify your club membership. The thing that I tell everybody about social media is the social media platform to use is the one that your club will actually use. Will your members also have profiles there so that they're sharing within their network, and that's growing the reach of your social media marketing? So will you use it? Will your members support it? And will you keep it relevant to what you're doing with your club? Toastmaster.
All right, I love it. There's so many key points in there that apply to just general stuff as well, particularly that last note about your club needs to be engaged in the platform. All right, we are running a little bit late, but we do still have time for Jean McDonald with Meetup, which is super exciting. That's been something, one of the new kids on the block in some ways for networking. Jean McDonald has been in Toastmasters for just over 6 years and completed her DTM a year ago. Jean hasn't been an avid user of many social media sites, but Meetup has always been her favorite. Here to talk about Meetup, please welcome Jean McDonald.
I can't remember which I joined first, Meetup or Toastmasters, because I joined them both about the same time, 6 years ago. And my first Meetup meeting was a Tony Robbins group in Seattle. And it was led by a Toastmaster member and life coach, Noreen Bauer. Now, there were over 1,200 members in this group, and over 100 were RSVP to the monthly meetings. Now, the actual meeting size was usually about 30 to 60 people. Margaret Page, the first VP of Toastmaster International this last year, was a frequent speaker. I mean, this group gave me a great impression of Meetup. My second Meetup group was a vegan raw foods group. Now, 10 of us RSVP'd for this luncheon event at a restaurant. 4 of us showed up and the group leader wasn't there. The food was just okay, and terrible impression of the Meetup group. Fellow Toastmasters, Meetup is popular, at least I don't have all the statistics that my previous panelists have used, but I've seen Meetup be more popular in big cities. And it's a way to find groups and people with shared interest. It seems to attract a mostly younger group, but in the 6 years since I've joined, that age group has expanded. Now, Meetup is free to join, and you get notices from the groups you sign up for, and occasionally notices from related groups. To host on Meetup, the cost is $24 a month or $16.50 a month if you prepay for 6 months. Well, that cost includes 3 Meetup sites and tends to be a little expensive for most clubs. And I know Don Bailey's on the group, but Don Bailey donated one of his 3 to the Port Angeles Toastmaster Club to use. Tim Nichols donated one of his to Little Norway. And I've donated 2 of mine, one to the Swim Club and one to the Jefferson County Club in Port Townsend. And that's a way that we've used Meetup without having any of that cost. Now, in early 2017, District 32 actually did set up a Kitsap and Olympia Peninsula Meetup site. And it was based in Bremerton. Well, that was great for clubs within a 25-mile radius of Bremerton, but when we had live meetings, would look at Meetup, they would look at things within their area. I live in Port Angeles and people complain about driving 17 miles to swim. So they're not really interested in going 50 miles to another Meetup. So when the district site was set up, it didn't really help the Olympic Peninsula clubs. But I did check on the site, and Kyle might know who's in charge of the site now, but it hasn't had any new members since July of 2019, and now it requires approval to join. So I sent in a request because it's showing totally outdated information on my Port Townsend club, and I haven't heard back from anyone. So, you know, if a Toastmaster group is going to have a Meetup site, I think they need to actually maintain it. And it's important with Meetup that the members actually RSVP, because when you see a lot of people ready to attend an event, a newcomer will be more likely to sign up and join. What I've seen with membership numbers, I noticed that our area, I'm including like from Port Angeles and down to Kitsap, but in our area, we tend to have 50 to 150 members in our Meetup sites. Now, I noticed, I was trying to find some clubs that had big number of memberships and found that Vancouver, Canada seemed to have much more active groups than any of our local groups, looking into 700 to 400. So one of the advantages of Meetup, which I love about it and I use, is that you can set up a reoccurring event on Meetup. So if you meet twice a month, you set up 2 reoccurring events, one for, like for us, the 2nd Thursday and the 4th Thursday, and it repeats, it automatically notifies people about the meeting. The one thing that relates to what both Kyle was saying tonight and Michael was about the search engines and knowing your target audience and keywords. One thing with Meetup is you do want to put your keywords. If your club is going to look at, like Kyle said, writers and artists or writers and storytellers, you want to include those words in your keywords for your site so that you attract those people in those groups. The other nice thing about Meetup with the online changes that we've had is now Meetup has an online version so that you can say your meetings online, and it will only send out your Zoom link to those who RSVP. So that's a great change that they've done. So in conclusion, I feel like Meetup's a lot less work than Facebook, seems to work better in larger cities, and it's important to have those keywords. But one of our newest members to our Jefferson County Club found us on Meetup, and she had actually gone into Meetup, found 2 of the Olympia Meetup clubs, by the way, and found us because we were a little closer and decided to join us after talking to me in person. So it's interesting to see which Toastmaster clubs do come up in those searches. So that's another thing to consider when you're setting up your Meetup accounts. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Jean. That was fantastic. All right, so we have had a fire hose of information. And so we get an opportunity to ask questions and look at them and explore a little bit more for the next 15 minutes or so until 42 past the hour. But real quick before we go into that, as you guys are either putting your questions into chat or thinking them up and raising your hand, or you over in the participants tab, you can click a raise hand button, and I can see you over there as well to acknowledge you. But if you think about, here's how I think about different social media platforms. They're like different pieces of a machine. You can have a net that collects large numbers of people and then throws them into a funnel, and you can have that funnel will direct them into different directions. And so you have Twitter will collect a lot of people. Not all those people are going to be the people you necessarily want, but you can connect with a lot more people that way. And then you can redirect them to your evergreen content, which you went to Sound Advice's marketing meeting recently, talked about creating evergreen content that can sit there and continuously add value to people and draw them in. YouTube, as an example, is fantastic for that. Videos on Facebook are gold and work great for evergreen content, particularly, as Roberta pointed out so fantastically, if it has subtitles. You don't have to listen to it. And so there's different pieces that they flow together, but you want to pick specifically certain things that, certain pieces that'll fit with your machine for your club that they will engage in. You can't do all of them. You'll kill yourself unless you have, a whole suite of people all working, engaging it, and getting paid a lot of money to do it. There's other ones out there too. There's Snapchat, there's, email direct marketing. There's also Discord, which, as some of you are familiar with, we actually have a Discord server for this club, actually. And it is really great for connecting with people in real time. And there's a lot of, it's not necessarily for broadcast promotion, but you can join servers with people of like interests, your tribe, and talk about your club in there and draw them in that way. Similar to a Facebook group, you might promote inside that. So there's a lot of different variations. All right, there is a question for Roberta. This is from Kyle. Based on the TI demographics she showed us and the demographics that use Facebook, who are the low-hanging fruit for attracting people to visit a Toastmasters club if using Facebook?
Oh, the low-hanging fruit. Is there a low-hanging fruit? Again, it depends on what is the specialty of your club. Now, folks may think, I don't have a specialty club. I would like to challenge all clubs to think of what is your specialty? What is it that makes your club unique to bring people in? From there, you could take a look at what are the demographics. Generally, if you're looking for people that are in their mid-30s to 40s, these are people that are socially moving up. They are exploring, just like with LinkedIn, these are your professionals who are trying to move up in management, and they're connecting with their business through Facebook. One of the interesting things that I found intriguing, and I just want to get in the system and play with it, when I was learning about setting your demographics or your keywords in Facebook is some keywords to think about are TED Talks, Tony Robbins, to put that in those keywords. And what Facebook does with their metrics is they will actually go out and people who have liked TED Talks on Facebook or liked a Tony Robbins event on Facebook or video, it will pull it back for your target market. So think of those public speaking forums that you can input into your keywords that are going to draw people in.
Fantastic. Thank you, Roberta. And actually, in line with that, one of the other questions that Michael Miller has is, how do you narrow down your target market and find those keywords that are so useful? And I was actually recently discovered this. I thought it was really cool when I was creating an ad for Sound Advice and trying to narrow it down to leadership. And you can't put in as a keyword into Facebook, past, present, future, district leadership people. It doesn't work. But you can filter out people who are page admins and group admins, or who are our editors on pages. Like, so if somebody's in district leadership, they might very well also be an admin of a page or two. So that could be a way to connect in there. So you gotta think creatively, think outside the box. In connection with finding keywords, John mentioned that, playing with autofill is a fun game. Does anybody want to take that real quick? Ideas for how to research keywords?
Like I said, as far as researching keywords, this is where Instagram comes in as an excellent tool, is to go in there and type in hashtag some keyword and see what returns for you.
See what's and that one is great because it also shows you how many posts are under that hashtag. So changing the phrasing or the spelling, you can be a little more popular than another one. So explore.
So that's a great way to figure out some keywords. Like I said, I think LinkedIn does the same thing with Facebook, to where in their demographics for their posting or boosting, you can actually identify groups. Like I said, you can also, this is a new feature with Facebook, you can import your list of members and their email addresses, and it will take a look at people who have registered for Facebook with that email address, and it will copy people that have sort of a similar profile with whatever metrics that they're utilizing, and target your message out to them.
It's creepy.
So you don't even really need to think of keywords. They're trying to make it simple for you.
I'd like to also give a, sorry, I'd like to, I should raise my hand. I definitely want to give a shout out to the idea of trend maps. Now there's literally a site called trendsmap.com, but there are resources on the web called trend maps where they will actually draw maps and show what is currently trending. So if you're doing a campaign and you want to remain topical, that's a way you can sort of reverse engineer that logic. And it's served me pretty well in getting the occasional thing noticed by, I mean, I don't do professional stuff on Twitter, but rando followers.
Thank you, John. There's a lot of really cool tools. I know Amazon, for helping create keywords for authors for books, has some similar tools that are very useful. Melanie has a question about what special promotions have worked for your club or any social media platform, or that you have seen or worked for other clubs. So thinking from a particular angle of a particular kind of promotion. I can speak to one real quick, is on Facebook specifically, boosting a post in general is not as powerful as boosting an event. If you have an event that's powerful, boosting that event is also powerful. But one of the most powerful things that's like the best bang for your buck when you're doing dollar for impressions with ads, is Facebook ads boosting Facebook events. That's like head over shoulders over everything else. The other one is live videos. Roberta talked about videos on Facebook are That's it. That's what they push more than anything else. You get almost better returns from just a plain unpromoted video than from promoted ads on Facebook sometimes.
James, I'd like to address that one as well.
Go ahead, Michael.
Not necessarily related to LinkedIn, but we did post an event when we had Mark Brown come. One of the most interesting things about a world champion speaker like Mark Brown is that he's very down to earth, very willing to help. And I had a conversation with him, and I was talking to him, and I said, you know, Mark, could you help us do a promotional video for your keynote that's coming up? So he did roughly about 1 minute, and he actually mentioned our club name, and he said he was coming to speak at Digital Transformation, and it was phenomenal. And when we put it out there, we had so much response because people could interact with a 1 minute video. And it was really powerful. It was really effective.
Yeah.
And we had limited time for Mark. We had, I think, 4 weeks to promote him, and we had 130 people sign up to come. So I think that had a lot of impact.
That is amazing.
One of the things that we are incentivizing for District 32, you're going to hear a lot about incentives coming up this month. One of the things that we are incentivizing for District 32 are My Why videos. And what we're wanting people to do is it's, you know, that quick 1 minute video of what is your why? Why did you join Toastmasters? Why do you stay? Even what do you experience or what do you gain from being a Toastmaster? And use that 1 minute video. Granted, figuring out how to close caption that and turn off the volume, but having that 1 minute video, and you can have a landing at the end of that video that is just a 1 sentence My Why statement, and posting that on your Facebook page. Have your club members develop a My Why video. People love seeing videos. As you said, you know, 8 billion videos, and it is what is going to stop people from scrolling through.
Yeah,
they will scroll through pictures,
scrolling through
videos. They will stop for.
And it's interesting that you mentioned videos, because a side note real quick, Linda Worthman had a really great idea when she was VPPR last year. And what she did was we had a table topics for members and guests, and we asked the members why they joined Digital Transformation. She took those table topics, created snippets of the videos, and posted them for testimonials on the website, which added so much credibility to the site. It was really impactful. And I'm considering posting those on LinkedIn once I get their permission.
There you go. That's one key thing, is you need to get permission for people when
Absolutely.
you're videos on the internet.
Right, correct.
Very important. All right, we are running really close to the end of time here, but we have a couple questions here. One is real quick speed round for Roberta. What type of page should a club develop on Facebook? I think that's like difference between a group versus page, possibly. Vicky?
Yeah.
So you were asking that one? You clarify maybe? I think both personally. I create a group for, you know, your members and then a page for everybody else. But
yeah, you want to develop a business page for your Facebook page. That is what's going to allow you to actually promote some of your videos. You can't promote a personal
don't
video.
use a personal profile. No. Yeah.
And then you can have groups that are joining that.
Indeed. And then Kyle asked, because we're online, we're no longer limited by geography, assuming we choose a target market and want to target community underserved by Toastmasters like Forks. How can we target that distant geography? Time zones, one thing to consideration. You can just block out whole states and areas on Facebook for demographics, which is handy. You can block out whole countries if you really want to. They're really flexible with that. But my answer to that, and my thought, is that when you want to keep a narrow target, a narrow demographic, and when you brought on the geography, you have to narrow other things. So for example, we don't care where you're from for Nerdmasters. You're welcome even if you're from some wild boondocks place like Alaska. And love you, Roberta.
Or Aberdeen.
Or Aberdeen, on the other side.
Grays Harbor.
Yes, we're in the boondocks here. But we're very focused on nerds and what we mean by nerds, whether you call it a geek or a nerd or a dork or whatever. We have a very specific culture that we're pushing for here of people who are accepting and loving and curious and people who love graphs and fun stuff like that. And so I think that that's what's really unique about our club, and we can create a very unique and narrow niche that is global in appeal, but still have a very narrow demographic. So think about
that's getting to that specialty that makes your club unique.
Very special niche. Think very hard about it. What are your values? What value are you offering? What are people seeking for? And connect with that and focus on it. That is our discussion time. And now I'm going to hand it back for our Toastmaster, Michael Davison, to lead us into our next segment.